Welcome back. Now, as South Africa gears up for the controversial national dialogue aimed at citizens from all walks of life for their say on how to help shape the next chapter of our democracy, the DA has raised a talking point on the country's economic redress measures. The largest partner in the GNU says that the economy can be turbocharged if the broad-based BEE Act, the Employment Equity Act, and the Expropriation Act are dismantled. Business Day's political editor, Hajra Omarjee, joins us with her take. Hajra, thanks so much for your time this afternoon. So yesterday, leader of the DA, John Steenhuisen, unveiling the party's plans to fuel economic growth, as mentioned. Planning, or rather that plan includes dismantling BBBE, employment equity, and also looking at dismantling expropriation, right? While these aren't totally new ideas from the DA, what have you just made of this move?
Well, whether or not we have a trust deficit with the ANC in recent years, which is shown in electoral results, South Africans in their majority have got to ask themselves whether Black economic empowerment, employment equity, and affirmative action has empowered the political elite or has led to genuine transformation. Speaking for myself as a journalist for about 20 years now, without employment equity and affirmative action giving me that first job as a Natal Tech student in Over a Road student, allowed me to put in the hard work to get to where I am today. Interestingly, John Steenhuisen said that it is not a national dialogue, it is a national monologue. The ANC last week said that it would not be blackmailed into doing away with progressive economic redress policies. However, a week after that meeting of the ANC-NEC, the ANC's biggest partner in the GNU, the DA, have not been informed of the ANC's decision. Neither have they been informed of the decision to include other parties within the GNU. And this comes down to a problem of leadership. I understand that President Ramaphosa has promised GNU leaders a bus parade. And in fact, logistical arrangements have been made for this bus parade since February this year. It still has not happened. He is not meeting with GNU leaders every week or every month at least. He meets the ANC every week, so he should meet his GNU partners every week for them to thrash issues around economic policy out on the table, for them to thrash it out privately. That's what happens in most coalitions around the world. And it was an interesting quote by Steenhuisen when he said, the ANC has come down with a tablet from the mountain, that's its policies, and it wants to shove it down the throat of all South Africans. However, when I challenged the DA, especially on EE and AA, they said to me, look at the data 30 years into democracy. It is not working. Another big issue is our education system. Even if you look at CETAs, we do not know how many people who graduate from CETAs actually get employed, but we spend billions on CETAs every year. But if you look at private schools, especially around Joburg, from my anecdotal experience, the majority are still white, which means whites are still the privileged class, and the DA is protecting that privileged. Can the ANC and the DA sit at the table, discuss these issues, thrash it out, and leave us out of it? We want our robots to work. We want to be able to drive to work without potholes. And we don't want our water and electricity bills to keep increasing by 30% for the second time for me this year.
I wonder if then this doesn't just open up the platform for the DA and the ANC to actually talk about these issues and thrash it out.
The ANC believes it is still in power. The ANC did a deal for the GNU so that Ramaphosa could be elected with a 70% majority. Without that, we would see constant votes of no confidence in the president, and South Africa would be the laughingstock of the world. John Steenhuisen, Parks Tau, the DTIC minister, and the agricultural minister are working well together. But I can tell you, in the days leading up to that August 1st deadline, when the US imposed a 30% tariff on us, which was implemented last week, Ramaphosa spent over 8 hours chairing cabinet subcommittee meetings instead of helping Tau, his minister of DTIC, make calls. We still don't have an ambassador to the United States. And yet we get a lot more in terms of the value chain of our exports to the United States than we do to China, which has been exploitative to the South African market.
And then is it even worth it to then extend GNU participation to other parties? Because at the heart of the issue here is, you know, the disagreement, the squabbles between the DA and ANC.
So read my story. I think it's the lead on Business Day at the moment. I spoke to Action SA, I spoke to Bosa, and I spoke to Rise Mzansi, and they said they are not joining the GNU unless there is a clear economic plan to grow South Africa's economy, and the ANC a week later has not reached out to them.
And just on the national dialogue then, there's been so much controversy around the dialogue. The DA yesterday reaffirming that they will not be participating in it. We've also heard from, you know, some of the prominent legacy foundations somewhat opting out. With the controversy surrounding that dialogue then, Hajra, is it even worth going ahead with it? Will it serve its purpose?
Well, Steenhuisen described the national dialogue as the national monologue, not a dialogue. And the Mbeki Foundation pulling out, even though he might be there in person, is particularly significant for me because it was his idea to have this national dialogue. However, we got to put it in context. We need to look at this national dialogue as the first meeting of CODESA, where there were no real outcomes, but the steering committee was appointed. And I think that's all we can expect out of the national dialogue.
All right, let's leave it there, Hajra. Thanks so much for your time and sharing your insights with us this afternoon. That was Business Day's political editor, Hajra Omarjee.